Hello, hello. Welcome once again to another video, a series of videos to give us a hint and tips of what Dynamics 365 is all about, how we could customize the forms and do a lot of things using Dynamics. So today we'll be looking at a very interesting topic called form customizations using JavaScript. Basically, as you can see from the screen, this is a dynamic CRM environment. There's a table there called the patients table, and you can see the records for that particular table. So what we are trying to do here, or what we are going to be showing here, is how to use JavaScript to customize the form to achieve what we want to achieve. As a dynamic CRM specialist or consultant or a developer, occasionally you will be required to deliver some requirements on some tasks basically. Um, One of those scenarios will be where you will need to use a JavaScript to customize the form. So today's video we'll be looking at how to you know use a pop-up dialog to warn or notify users of the platform when they input value, a certain type of value into a particular field. So this field can be a field that is, let's say, sensitive or very important. So you want your users to be immediately notified once that particular value is imputed, you know. So we could do something like, once this field is populated, once the last name field is populated, through a dialog to inform the user that look, last name has been populated, or if there's no value in the last name and the user tries to save the form, give the user a pop-up dialog to tell the user this particular field is very important. You need to put a value, things like that. So in today's requirement, what we want to achieve is you can see the feed value here, security. So this column is a choice field. It has got three choices. It has the low, it has the medium, it has the high. Basically, what we want to achieve is that if the patient's, health security severity is high, then we want to throw a pop-up dialog that will tell the user this user's the patient's severity level is very high. Please treat this as a urgent case. Things like that. That's what we want to achieve in this particular video. And without wasting much of our time, let's get into the video. Let's start the customization. So I'm going to be using Visual Studio here. I already brought up my Visual Studio. The first thing we want to do, so we're just going to do it like a simple script. We're not going to do anything fancy, like ideally you should set up your script in a way that it should show on the file, basically. But anyways, we'll just go straight to it and say start our function. Uh, so on severity change, you know, you just put it that way. Function on severity change. So we want to pass our execution context. Okay. Once you pass the execution content, then you want to open the curly braces. Now we can start writing our script. So the first thing we want to do is to declare our form context. So the form context will be the execution context dot get form context. Okay. Once we get that, then we want to declare our variable. Okay, so we can just call our variable severity, severity attributes, and that will be the form context. Dot we'll get our attributes, and we want to get the attribute value. So in this case, I already know my attribute value. So the attribute value can be gotten from here. So this is the value of those fields. So if I open this up, this field up, you know, we can see the name of the field. That will be the value. So this is the name of the field, which I've already passed into the script, you know. And also don't forget that this is a choice field. So if I go to the choice field, we can see the values in there. So you can see high. The value of high is 3. So this is what we are going to pass as the value for. So if you want to, because that's going to be our trigger, basically, we are saying that if the value is high, then trigger and show that pop up. So this is what we're talking about. So once we get the feed information, okay. Now, if if that feed does not contain data, right? Basically, we want to do a check. So if that feed does not contain data, they want to do a reform. Basically, they want to do it. So if there's no value there, just ignore it. However, if there is a value there, you know, we want to get the value of that particular field. So it's quite straightforward. Basically, what we are doing here is we want to check, does this field have a value? If it has a value, get it. If it doesn't, return. But if it has a value, then we want to get the value information of that field. Then we want to do a check, you know, check if the value that we are getting is high. Remember, we saw the high is 3. Okay. So if um, the value that we are getting is equal to 3, just like we mentioned, then we want to um, get that value, or call it confirm dialog. So this is just a dialog information, the confirm string. So this what I'm going to be writing now is standard for now before my navigation dialog basically. So you can always get that from documentation. So we want to get that information. I want to give it a title. Uh, so we want to pass the title information here. So I've just gone ahead to complete the script, just to save us a little bit of time. So, I've declared the string information, I've declared the options information. So these are going to be passed as parameter. Basically, this will be the size of the dialog that is going to pop up, while this will be the information or values or parameters that we are passing or the string, the confirm string, basically. So we want there to be a button label that will say confirm and another button label that will say cancel. Basically, the user clicks on cancel, we want to cancel that, but if the user clicks on confirm, then we want to allow that value of high to be passed, basically. So we normally do this check because you will want to use this option basically because you want the user to be sure they are passing that information. So if that feed value is a very sensitive value, for example, if this value of high is very sensitive, because we can do a trigger off the back of this that says if the severity is high, we want to send an urgent or important email to some certain people, like I don't know, the doctors, right? So it's before the user selects that value, we want to put a check to dialog there to let the user reconfirm that they are happy to do that, and then this dialog that we're going to open it up and just our validation basically. So this is how the script look like, very straightforward. I'll be putting the link to the script, in the description of this video so that you can always go check that out and modify it, do whatever you want to do with it. The next thing we want to do is to create the web resource. Basically, you can see we have created this as a web resource. This is our script, nothing fancy, too fancy in there. Yeah, we've created that as a web resource. And also the next thing is to add it as a add that web resource to the form. So you can see if I go to this form, you can see I've added that, you know, web resource as a library here as well, and I've passed the parameter. So it's quite straightforward. Uh, One thing you should note here is that we have two ways we can pass the property. We can either pass it on load of the form, you know, or on save event of the form. So in this case, we are passing it to save. What that basically means is that when the user tries to save the form, that's when this validation is going to kick in. So like as you saw, we could have done that on load basically. So yeah, that has been passed, and all I need to do is to do a hard refresh, just so that the latest changes can take effect on the form, so that we can, yeah. So I've refreshed the form, just waiting for it to kick in. Yeah, so it is done. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go ahead here and just set this to high. So now that I've changed it, it does it doesn't throw that validation. So the moment I hit save, it comes up and tells us, confirm your severity. And this is the message that I have added here. As you can see, the message says you can do this. So that is what is there. And you can see the button here. It says confirm, it says cancel. So if I cancel, the feed value disappears. If I put it back again, if I says confirm, it confirms it and saves it the record. So this is how you can do a simple validation, a form validation or form customization using JavaScript in Dynamics 365 CRM. And if I do that again, save it, the same thing happens, you know, basically. So that's how to do it. So yeah, thank you for watching this video. If you have any questions or any comments, let me know. Do not forget to subscribe, hit the subscribe button because I'll be bringing up more and more videos, interesting videos. Yeah, subscribe, follow, put a comment, like. Thank you very much. I remain your host, FA. Thank you.